Like most refugees, home is a tough one. I was born in the belly of a crease, a blemish in the clean-cut east, the only place I've seen put heartbreak in a horizon and make you cry at its beauty. I don't remember much about the moment I first cried, but I'm betting mine wasn't the only voice that night. I'm from where guns discuss peace and never seem to agree, so they were probably arguing when I announced my arrival. I'd barely learned to understand what they were fighting over when I got here. Like most refugees, I had to peel home off my tongue before hitting kindergarten. I'm glad I grew up without conflict in my vocabulary. It'd be a decade before I heard rifles scuffle again. Like most refugees, I love where I am, but I miss where I'm from. Can't take the ashes out of this fire. Now, I live in a city that dresses in diamonds at night and refuses to shade its skyline with smog. Of course I'm going to talk about the coffee. Show me a barista with a top knot, and I'll show you someone that gave his life away to make $16 an hour, perfecting my morning fix, and is completely happy with that decision. Like most refugees, I'll skip my morning Joe sometimes and let the bitter, extra short blacks mama makes run laps around my taste buds. Still, show me a city where I can find burritos, laksa, falafel, souvlaki, steak, curry, pasta, and fried chicken all on the same block. Where else does the world sit on your doorstep and beg for you to greet it? Where else do dresses paint the town summer when the sun comes out? You know, if the sun comes out. Where else are beards, boat shoes, and books appreciated? Where else can you watch raw talent sing its way into your ears on the sidewalk? Where else can you obsessively watch old men and 9-year-olds bump wits over giant chessboards? But most importantly, where else can castaways like us sleep without the United Ammunitions bickering outside, worrying we might catch a stray cuss word? Like most refugees, I've unpacked myself into a house, but left one bag unopened. There's a handful of home inside it, but there's a city full of life outside it. And like most refugees, I do love living here. Hi, my name is Abdul Hammoud, but people call me Abdul Hammoud. I'm a spoken word artist. I was born in Lebanon, and I moved here when I was about 2 or 3 years old. My family first moved to Australia because my dad wanted to work, essentially. But on top of that, they were also escaping the war. There was a civil war that was raging at the time, and they felt it would be a lot safer to be moving over here where there already was a diaspora. People are generally very, very eager to learn about those experiences and hear about that kind of narrative. But at the same time, I experience racism the same way that anybody else from a different background does. And it's minimal, thankfully. Melbournians are quite tolerant in comparison to other communities around the world, and as such, I'm not too worried about the future of immigrants in Melbourne. I'm worried about the immigrants and the asylum seekers that are coming now with the laws that we have in place and with some of the politics that are in place. I think racism is a huge problem. I think it's a very, very big problem. I think the issue isn't so much outward blunt racism, because it's easily spotted. It's more the systemic, underlying, quiet, and sure racism. It's the racism that people don't know that they actually have. But it does impact us. A lot of us to be here had to go through a lot. You know, whether it was the war that we came from, you know, even just the idea of having to fill out forms. All of that, despite what other people think, is a really, really traumatic experience. And sometimes laws come out that say we can only take this many in. And that's really, really difficult to hear. I mean, I'm from Lebanon. Like, my country right now, with the Syrian conflict and with the Palestinian conflict before that, 50% of our population is refugee. I think people tend not to leave for good anywhere where they are comfortable, unless where they are leaving is so unbearable to live in that they need to go. It's really, really difficult to know that and then look at Australia and say, and have to hear that it's only accepting a really, really small amount of refugees, despite the fact that we have many more resources, an increasing number of jobs, plenty of land to live on. All the possible reasons why things could go well are there, but it's still not happening. And that to us feels like racism. It feels like we're being singled out. Why does somebody else get a right over life more than we do? We all really like stories. We really, really enjoy telling and hearing stories. That's what we're all based on. You know, the Aboriginal people had the dream time. What's the point of racism when we're all just trying to tell a story? Like, why can't we just listen to each other's stories and find the beauty in those stories? And I think that's the answer to racism. Is one of, let me say that's one of the answers to racism. There are many other operational answers as well, but from an artist's point of view, we've all got stories. I sit in a circle and tell them. I love Melbourne CBD. Any place with street art, so Fitzroy, Footscray, anywhere where there is diversity. I love my suburb. I love being around. You know, it's predominantly Afghan, Sudanese, and Arab, Bosnian, Albanian. There's so many cultures, and so I can walk out the door and pick out of a smorgasbord what I feel like eating for the night. You know, so that's what I love most about Melbourne. That's what I connect with the most about Melbourne. I am Lebanese. I am Arab in the general sense. I am Muslim in the general sense, but I'm also an artist. So as far as identity and belonging, like I had to fight a lot to be what I am, and that includes fighting against my own family, a lot of social constructs. I have to fight against financial situations, and I think the fight feels worth it when I'm up on stage and I perform something and it goes really, really well, and people clap, and people come and tell me that that piece changed their lives, or that it affected them, or that it resonated with them, and it was everything that they wanted to say for so long but couldn't say it right. That is why I do what I do. I think for me the process is simply, do I have time to write? Yes, awesome. Do I have a line in mind? Yes, awesome. Write that line, see what else comes from it, and go from there. Usually it doesn't take me very long to write something. I'll usually write something within about 20 minutes or so, and then I'll spend the next 3 months editing it and refining it and performing it and changing it and that kind of thing. But the writing itself doesn't take very long at all. If you're looking to write, work on what your story is, you have something that nobody else has. You have your story. And that story is different in every way from everybody else's story. So when you tell it, make sure it is as personal as possible so that it stands out and so that other people can connect to it and find their story in your story. Once you've figured that out, write. And write some more and write some more and write some more. And when you're done writing and you realize that it all sounds the same, think of a way to change it and look for inspiration in other people. YouTube other poets, YouTube other people who write, read poetry books, go to performances, challenge yourself as often as possible. You're human and you're going to be prone to mistakes, but you're also going to be prone to incredible greatness. And I think once you come to that realization, writing itself becomes a very human thing. And when I say human, I mean it becomes really, really natural, because being natural means having imperfections as well. And those imperfections are what make poetry so beautiful.